Hey, welcome back, faithful politics listeners and viewers. If you are watching on our YouTube channel, I am your political host, Will Wright, and your faithful host, Pastor Josh Bertram. Unfortunately, is not here this week. He is out casting lots to determine who to vote for in the Virginia gubernatorial race. But sitting in a seat is a person that needs no introduction is Professor Corinna Lain. She is our returning champion, her fourth time, I think, on the show, on the guest. So welcome, Corinna.
It's great to be here. Such an honor.
And our special guest for this week is another person that doesn't necessarily need any introduction. He is Capitol Police Officer Harry Dunn, joining us from from an undisclosed location in the United States.
I'm in Maryland. Thanks, Sean. Thanks for having me on. And maybe I do need an introduction. I guess people... I mean, it depends on who you ask. Maybe I do need an introduction. People have already formulated opinions about me. So maybe I do need an introduction.
Yeah. So if you want to use this podcast as your stepping stone to introduce yourself, feel free. I can help guide the conversation to help you define who you are in the public sphere. Yeah, I'll start off easy, like Marvel or DC. How about that?
Well, I'm just being silly. I use that as like a jab at the people who've already want to just make up their minds about things without even knowing a thing about me. So those people, you can say whatever you want to them, and it doesn't matter. So that's just a fun little jab at them. Whatever.
Yes. Speaking about jabs at people that make fun of you, so you've got a congressional football game coming up, right?
Wednesday. It should be great. It goes to the USCP Memorial Fund, all the funds and the money raised for it. And it's really a great event. This is my fifth year playing in it. Mm-hmm. And we have some congressmen that they're real competitive on the field, like off the field too, but they're definitely competitive on the field too. So, it's Wednesday. Let me see if I can find. I'll get to the website or whatever. But you could donate to the Capitol Police Memorial Fund on there. I'll get the website in a little bit.
Very nice.
So I have a question too. Do you play a particular position? Are you a linebacker?
I'm a lineman.
Can we talk about that?
That's the thing, though. That the Congress people, they have NFL alums that play in there, former Washington football team greats Santana Moss and Ken Harvey, and a lot of NFL guys play in it. So it should be a good time.
Wait a minute. So, do the former NFL people play on your side or on the Congress?
It's the guards versus the mean machine. Kind of like the longest yard. It's the concept about that,
That's
very
great.
Nice, very nice. Yeah, because I was wondering. You're a pretty tall guy, right?
Yeah, I'm 6'7".
Good grief! Is there anybody taller than you in the Capitol Police?
Well, this may be my same height, but. Depends. It depends on what you're using. If you're using inches or you're using millimeters to measure, it depends.
6'7". That is substantial.
Yes, it is.
You drank a lot of milk as a kid. Please tell me that, because I'm going to tell my girls that.
Yes, there you go. But no, the website is congressionalfootball.org. And like I said, people can donate on there, buy tickets if you're in the DC area, come to the game. It's at Aldi Field, and I think after the year we've been through, this year is going to be a little more special. Having lost coworkers that we work with daily, it takes on a different meaning to do this in their honor and raise money for the Memorial Fund for the families of the fallen officers. So.
Yeah. So I'm assuming your height, your size, your stature probably makes you really, really good at your job. And I'm curious on how did you get
the football job or the police job?
Yes.
Yes.
We'll focus on the police part for now, and then maybe we'll circle back or have you back on to talk about your post victory after the game. But
we lost last time. Last game we lost, and I always joke. Congressman Rodney Davis, he loves to brag every time he sees us. He rubs it in our face with the trophy. But I just felt so bad. Like it originated. The first game was in 2004, and we weren't letting them win. So we said, "Hey guys, we might got to let them win one so they can, keep coming back and playing against us." So we keep beating them like this. They ain't gonna want to play too much. And Rodney Davis, the congressman, has been a huge trash talker. Like I can't wait to get out there and teach them a thing or two.
That's so funny. Yeah. So how did you get into law enforcement?
Well, I've always, it's funny. You when I was a child, I think your first memories are you see a police car and it's cool. Come to career day and it's cool. Policeman or firefighter. I like those jobs. Wow, that's so cool. I want to ride in a police car.
Uh-huh.
And I think as a child, it kind of piques your interest or whatever. And then, as I start growing into the person that I am now, I was becoming him. I realized that, I enjoy helping people. And being a servant and just helping people in any capacity that I could. And then mixed with my size, it's like, wow, I got like I call it type A personality with a type B heart,
I like that.
So I like, I just like helping people out, but my stature, I guess, kind of helps it out a little bit. But no, I enjoy helping people, and being a public servant is very meaningful to me.
Does it take something like, so that's how you got into policing? Does it take it, like, are there special qualifications? How does one become a Capitol police officer? I mean, that just sounds like a very special
Well, we're actually
job.
recruiting now, so if anybody's interested, go to uscp.gov. No, I'm serious. I'm so serious. We are recruiting for qualified individuals. I do believe in, if people complain a lot about law enforcement and politics and police and all this stuff and all this complaining, but now here's actually an opportunity to do something about it. So, you really can't change. I think the best way to change something is from the inside, not from the outside.
Absolutely.
So, we are hiring. So, uscp.gov.jobs, whatever the actual website is. But yes, Capitol Police hiring.
But is there like a special qualification as opposed to general, the general officer on the beat, or is it like, I just applied to these people?
Well, I'm not really sure because I don't have a lot of experience with applying to other agencies, but I do know that we do we look for highly qualified individuals, and I would assume, like I said, I'm not too familiar with how the recruiting goes and everything. I'm not too familiar, but I do know the people that I work with are top class, top notch individuals, and some of the best coworkers I've ever had in my life. So I would have just assumed the standards are high. I don't know what they are, but I'm happy with the group of guys and girls that I work with. So,
how long you been on the force?
I start year 14 in November.
Wow, that's so in your 14 years, you've probably seen some pretty crazy things, and probably.
I mean, I've seen a lot of things, all ends of the spectrum. I guess that's the best, most accurate way to put it, because I've been involved in so many proud moments up there. So proud, crazy, sad. All of them. I've enjoyed my time at Capitol Police. So
that's really
nice.
Cool. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, are you a person of faith?
Yeah, I am a baptized believer, a Christian. Jesus, I am saved. So I plan on going to heaven when this is all over. I pray God sees it my way. But, well done, good and faithful servant, right?
Yeah. Even that'll preach.
Mm-hmm. No, you're fighting the good fight, definitely.
I'm trying to.
You definitely have.
Thank you. Oh, I was going to ask. So, regarding your faith, just to kind of dive in a little bit about some of the stuff you've seen. So in particular, obviously, January 6th still fresh in everybody's mind. Um, you know, I as a Christian myself, like one of the things that I feel haven't really been covered a lot, or what's the word, or criticized enough about, are the Christian presence that was there on that day, or the perceived Christian presence, I should say.
I think that's a better
So
way to put it.
there,
Perceived Christian.
there was a video that I watched. Actually, there's a really great documentary on HBO that just came out. And there was a scene where there was these people in the Senate chamber that were all praying in Jesus' name. I mean, to include like the QAnon shaman dude with the horns and a whole bunch of other people. And I'm wondering, like, how do you reconcile like that image, with your experience, and compare it to what you know about Jesus and your faith?
So I guess the simplest way to put it is either there are two different Christianities or those people are full of crap. Just as simple as that, because there's no way that these people can practice Christianity the way I was taught it.
Did you see those people?
Throughout the day? I'm not familiar with the praying that you're referring to, but I'm sure it exists. I haven't watched much footage. A couple of things that comes up on like news clips and stuff like that, but I haven't like gone and sought out clips to watch from that day. I remember what I experienced, but I just think it's asinine that like people say, Christian, God first, God, country, and guns. I feel like it's just a slogan. I feel like it's a slogan, but Christianity is a lifestyle. And, it's not just some words that you just, it's crazy. I just don't understand it. I think it's literally, it's a catchphrase, God and country, I feel like just what people say. But they don't live it. They just talk a good game because it's a catchphrase. It sounds good. God, country, and guns. I mean, that sounds great when you think about it. It is good. It's a good catchphrase. They capitalized on it, but to a person who is actually a Christian who believes in God and tries to model my life after Him, obviously we all fall short, but still, it's like, really, yo, like, wow. Pray for you.
Yeah.
Wow.
It is interesting to me that that Trump is like this hero of the Christian right, because I just look at that and just go, how does that even make sense? Yeah. And like the whatever the Bible, as essentially, just doing this PR stunt that he did. I just thought, why are Christians not looking at this and going, that's not Christianity.
Yeah.
That's bad. And
yeah.
I don't really understand how somehow Christianity's been co-opted in this way, but it does feel like that to me, certainly.
It feels like everything's available to be hijacked in this, whether it's Christianity on one end. I don't want to get, go too far down a rabbit hole, but it just seems like everything's a talking point. Like now the police has been hijacked by political pundits on both sides. That's just not the right. It's not just the left. Policing, just you name anything's available for to be hijacked. I guess,
yeah. To that end, I'm curious. Like, what does the term Blue Lives Matter mean to you?
I think it's a protest to Black Lives Matter. I think that's what it is.
Oh, interesting.
I just think Blue Lives Matter is a protest to Black Lives Matter. because the term, to my knowledge, I could be 100% wrong. If I am, I apologize. But I wasn't aware of Blue Lives Matter, the term, until Black Lives Matter was front and center, or All Lives Matter. Like, those are just protests to somebody's protest. So that's
like
where
counterpoints.
Yeah, that's where that came from. It was meant to diminish the term Black Lives Matter, in my opinion.
Yeah. You know, I've heard this. I've heard the same thing, and I've always kind of thought, I've always thought the similar way about the Blue Lives Matter slogan, in the sense of, I mean, of course, like I'm not an enemy of the police. Like, I have a lot of respect. I wanted to be a police officer, like when I was a little kid, and it's like, you never heard the term Blue Lives Matter until you heard the term Black Lives Matter.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just to sort of put things in perspective. And, you know, and one of the ironic things about the Blue Lives Matter sort of movement, if you will, is, you know, they disrespect the American flag by coloring it like a different color. So, like, you know, whatever. But I was really kind of interested in just kind of hearing your thoughts about it as a Black police officer.
Mm-hmm. That's the thing. Like, it's that's what I am. I am a police officer, so of course. Well, you know, I hate the nitpicking, because words matter so much to me. So when you say like Blue Lives Matter, like Black people didn't choose to be Black, like, but police officers chose to be blue. So I mean, you know, I get it. So it's not. I hate to say, like, it's not a blue life. I mean, it is, because police officers were targets out there, and you know, we're treated unfair. We get a bad rep, and some of it's rightfully so. You know, there's work that needs to be done in the police community, and police reform is one of the things that should happen. But it's like being caught between a rock and a hard place. It's tough. Like I said, but I originally believed that the Blue Lives Matter phrase is a protest to the Black Lives Matter phrase. Just the phrases, because no non-common sense person would say that no, the police lives do not matter. Yes, they absolutely matter. Nobody, and I let me clear it, nobody with common sense. I'll say that again, because there are people that say that, and you know what, you ain't got no common sense, so it's not even worth having a conversation with you about that. But
I think your understanding, I mean, like, this is really helpful for me, because the way you put it, like, this is just an answer, this is just a response, helps me to understand a deep, like, irony and tension that I see from January 6th, which is, you've got all these people like Blue Lives Matter, and they're beating the police.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
I don't even understand how those two things can go together.
Like I said, I feel like they're just talking points, and they're a way to rile up people, because people just pay attention to target words or whatever. Like, people are probably saying I'm some Black Lives Matter activist. Well, wait, some people aren't saying it. Tucker Carlson did say that about me. I'm some angry Black Lives Matter activist. Like, the violence and that Antifa and maybe some of the people associated with Black Lives Matter did, that's wrong. 100%. I denounce it. It's not right. But the actual term Black Lives Matter, why doesn't that make sense? Why does anybody have a problem with that?
Yeah.
You know, why does anybody have a problem with that? Because people, it's not minimizing other views, other lives. It's not minimizing. It's just saying, hey, I'm talking about mine right now. So people like to make things about them all the time. You know, it's like somebody like just say, for example, today's your birthday, and everybody's going to happy birthday, hey, happy birthday, Will. You know, I'll be like, wait, my birthday was a week ago. What about me? Oh, chill. Like, we'll get to your birthday. Chill. Like,
it's actually,
it's crazy to me, but it's like I said, common sense people. Those are the conversations that they don't want to have, though. So.
To that end,
we focus on January 6th, and of course, January 6th, sadly, is what made you famous, right? Like, That's your testimony in Congress, which I've watched, by the way, and was just phenomenal. But I'm wondering if there's a larger like degradation of society that you have seen over maybe even just the last 4 years. How, I mean, did January 6th come out of nowhere? Nowhere as in, in the fall and early January, or is it something that you have seen building, for quite some time, maybe even since 2016? I don't want to be presumptuous.
I just about to say, I don't want to sound hypocritical, because, it wasn't, you say the last 4 years, obviously those are associated with the former president, but the years before that, like, people are starting to get more engaged and involved in their government and holding their politicians accountable, which they should do.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
I encourage that with, you hold them accountable, but storming the Capitol and beating people to get them to change an election is not the definition of holding them accountable. So I do believe, it's a more prevalent movement, but I think if we were building to that point, and and maybe we just attribute that to like evolution as in technology or accessibility. It's so easy to communicate with your congressman now, or for everybody to have an opinion, and it's so easy for that now. So maybe I attribute it to that, and not specifically one particular person or administration. I don't think that's fair to them. Now, some people use it better and take advantage of it better, clearly. But no, I don't attribute it to one particular thing. I just think it's evolution. It's an evolution. So
that's helpful. Yeah. Thank you.
Now, how many? So you've been on the force. You said 14 years. How many electoral certifications have you worked, or I guess been a part of?
I guess I don't know all of them.
Trying to do the math. You're like, okay, 4 divided into
4, maybe. All of them since I guess President Obama's first one, maybe. Yeah,
is that right? Got it. And to the best of your recollection,
no.
No,
it didn't happen. No.
You sound like me, like nothing can come
out.
I need you to remember something.
But people objected to other elections. Democrats objected to some of the Trump ones that I saw in the news. So that's not an uncommon practice. Mm-hmm. But you don't have a group of supporters, storm the Capitol if it doesn't go your way. So
yeah. So to the best of your recollection, I was gonna ask, actually, like was January 5th the same for all of them that you can remember?
No, that was just a weird day. I mean, it was a lot of people in town.
More people than usual?
Yeah, especially because the government was shut down, to an extent, I guess, whatever, the pandemic or whatever. But yeah, there were a lot of people in town that day. Big rallies at the Supreme Court and stuff like that. But it didn't give, to me at the time, any foreshadowing about what was in store for us. It was, but it was still like an eerie feeling, but nothing to say, oh shoot, I need to stay home tomorrow. No, nothing like that.
Yeah.
I'm Officer Dunn. I'm a former prosecutor in Richmond, and so I've worked with the police officers. I've worked for nearly 4 years with them.
How long ago?
So this was from 1997 to 2001.
Okay, because I went to college with LeVar Stoney.
That's so funny. How about that? That's great. Yeah. I don't know LeVar, but yeah, that's great. But
LeVar, the mayor, was down with the mayor, I think, Richmond.
Yeah. No, you're right. No, you got that.
I was just saying for the listeners who don't know, I guess. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
No, but some of those officers I still keep in contact with to this day. They're they call them Henrico's 500 finest, and from. Some of them would say to me, I just got a spidey sense. It was like almost like the hair on the back of my neck stood up figuratively, if not literally. Right. I couldn't explain it. It wasn't like reasonable, articulable suspicion because I couldn't articulate it. But your job is in part, feeling out and understanding the vibe of people and what's going to happen and communicating with people. And they would say to me, like, I could just tell you something was off, something was wrong. Did you have that sense before it was like, oh crap, that like it is clearly going wrong? Or
not really, because people have been growing angry and angrier over the years. So like I said, and as at my job, I've worked hundreds, if not thousands, of protests. And like I said, they could be as small as 5 people or 2 people, one person, or as big as what we saw on January 6th and everything in between. So, I've seen a lot of different protests, First Amendment protests, where people are allowed to do it. And it's encouraged, that's your right, do it. But what is not allowed is what happened on, like I said, on January 6th. But no, I didn't have that moment that just said, yo, something not right. I mean, it was weird. It's crazy, but not like, hey, yo, I think I need to go home or something. Like, yeah, hey, let's get out of here. Nothing like that, but so I got company. You see my dog coming in here?
I know. I was like, oh, I see your friend.
Is that an American Bulldog?
She's a pit bull boxer mix.
Looks
Love
very
it.
Wow.
Yeah. What's her name?
Nice.
Frosty.
Frosty.
Frosty looks at the camera like, what?
You see that?
Yeah, for all the people that are just listening to the podcast, not watching the YouTube, this will make 0 sense. But
sorry, okay.
I can assure you there is a dog in the background of this video. You'd have to trust me on that one.
If you saw Frosty would make sense.
Yes. So Officer Dunn, so we talked a little bit about kind of what January 5th looked like, and and the spidey sense that it didn't really, nothing really kind of seemed out of place the day before. And we can get more into the meat and potatoes of the actual day of January 6th, but I'm curious about January 7th and what that was like, both for you and just, a lot of your coworkers that, had just come off a really long shift, a really crazy, emotional day. And I'd love for you to kind of describe for me, what was the morning like? You get up out of bed, if you even slept that night.
So I can't. It's no really deep answer to this. It is simple as I was just going through the motions, and you don't even it was funny. I was sitting there today, and I was like, where did I park on January 6th? I was just thinking that, and I don't even remember. And then the 6th time at the 8th, I do not remember just something as simple as where did I park? It was literally going through the motions. I don't, it was, thank God, like I said, we had a fence up. We had the National Guard support. We had a lot of other mutual support from other law enforcement, the law enforcement community. And thank God they were there, because it literally was going through the motions that day. And Lord forbid we would have had to take, police action right after, but myself, I can't speak for my other coworkers, that people process and experience grief differently. But I just think I was just so shocked. I couldn't believe where we were and what had happened. I'm still trying to process it all. Mm-hmm. So but I knew I had to be at work for the guys next to me. They were going to be there. And that's what it's about. You're fighting for, obviously, your country and your community that you work in, but your coworkers. We all need to support that day, and I think that we found it at work with each other. So,
there's one thing I watched your testimony before Congress about January 6th, and I have to say it broke my heart. A lot of that stuff, I mean, I saw, I saw what people were capturing, but, I didn't know what any one individual police officer or any group of police officers was going through. I didn't know about the racial epaulets. I it's not like that's shocking to me, but to hear your testimony, it almost brought me to tears. I mean, it broke my heart. And so one of the things, going into this, I was like, I just want to say to you on behalf of I don't know, on behalf of myself and other white people who are not racist, terrible, angry people, I'm so sorry that happened to you.
I appreciate you acknowledging that, but
that happened to you. That is so unacceptable. That is so terrible. It's like the worst underbelly of what this country is. And I have to believe we're not just that, but golly,
I appreciate you saying that. But I also want to make it clear that it's not, I think, your responsibility to apologize on behalf of white people. That's silly to me. Because
it's in my heart. This is just in my heart. I wasn't there. I promise.
No. I understand. I'm just saying. There's so many. Don't even associate yourself with people like that.
Yeah.
Those people, white or black, doesn't matter. You don't know. You don't have to apologize on their behalf. It's screw them.
Just ashamed.
I'm
ashamed for our country.
But that's the thing. We're all Americans, so we all should be feeling some type of way, and we all should be feeling. That was an attack on America. It wasn't just an attack on black people. It wasn't an attack on white people. It was an attack on police. It was an attack on democracy that favors us all. Some people more in different election cycles, but democracy favors all of us. So don't associate yourself with those people. Don't apologize on their behalf. But I appreciate you acknowledging that. But
I just hate the ugliness.
And like I said, that was my story. If you talk, there were so many other officers that I was just a small cog that day. Sure, I got a big voice now, I guess, but my hat's off to all my coworkers. Those guys are I work with some heroes.
Yeah,
it's not just me at all.
I can only imagine.
If you ask 100 different people what they went through that day, you'll get 100 different stories.
Yeah.
Maybe 101. You ask 100 different people, you'll get 101 different stories.
I have a question that I think a lot of people don't understand. Can I just? This is a logistical question.
Yeah.
I don't understand. I think other people don't understand. Why didn't the National Guard? What's the story with the National Guard? Why didn't they come?
So that's something that's being worked out in the committees and the hearings and the that's way above my pay grade. Sure, as a citizen,
you don't necessarily know.
I have an opinion about it as a citizen, but yeah, that's something that they're working on now. There's been reports and talks, but I'll let that play out in the way the investigators are handling that. So
yeah, now Officer Dunn. So one of the things that you mentioned in your testimony was about sort of the racist slurs and what have you. That you were called kind of during the riots, and I'm assuming. So as a black person myself, I feel like every black person in the country has been called a racial slur at one point in time or another. Mm-hmm. We've all we all process it differently based on a number of different factors. Am I in an area where if I punch this guy, I'm going to get in trouble? Are my kids with me? And I'm curious on how did you kind of rationalize, or process, N-words or what have you,
That's the thing. I don't think January 6th, I don't want to make January 6th about race. There were racist people there. But let's be clear on what it was. It was an attack on our democracy, not just an attack on black people. Let's be clear on what it was. There was just a whole bunch of racist people there. I don't want, because as soon as you start talking about race, here come the race card. So let's stay on topic here about how bad it was for democracy and how bad it could have been for democracy and the attack that it was. But as I was called those things, as several of my other coworkers were, as they shared with me, after the days afterwards, I didn't process it as a racial attack. I said that day I was just trying to survive and go home. Like I wasn't acknowledge what they said. They said a lot of bad stuff. They called us traitors and we're treasonous. We're breaking our oath to the Constitution and like all this. They said a lot of bad stuff to us. But as obviously racial slurs, they hurt more. Those words are like meant to cut you deep. That's what they're meant for. Like it's
Yeah.
and it did afterwards. Once you be able to process it, but in that moment, I was just trying to get home, man. So
No, where were you? I guess
everywhere. I'm serious. I covered a lot of ground that day.
Got your steps in
everywhere, wherever. Like I joked about, like I guess I was wherever there was a fire, I was there trying to put that fire out. And that's where we responded. Everybody was just everywhere. Like there were so many just stories of just heroism and just courage that day from people's names you'll never know. It just these my coworkers, and they're really brave, man.
You said something with Adam Kensinger that I'd like for you to repeat with regards to why you didn't shoot, and because that's a question I hear a lot. Like, okay, if you're under attack, why wasn't there more gunfire or what have you? And if I recall correctly, like you had an M4 or an AR. I'm not exactly what you guys are using. But I'd love for you to just kind of maybe explain, maybe a little bit about. You don't necessarily have to kind of talk in detail about the rules of engagement.
No,
but
I understand.
Sure.
I understand. So you got to be real, like just shooting. Obviously, there are multiple layers to this. And like I said, you have literally milliseconds to make that decision. However, with January 6th, it was hours. I mean, who has hours to process whether you shoot and whether, another officer who may have been encountered with a shoot, don't shoot dilemma, he just has a millisecond to decide. We had like minutes, we had hours and hours to decide because it went on forever. And specifically for me, like, obviously the tactical side of it, you don't want to engage in a firefight with tens of thousands of people that you don't know what they got on them. And that goes, and you don't know what they got on them. That goes to my second point. My experience, I'm not going to shoot somebody because I think they may be armed. Like, it's just way, police, we react to things. We react. And, and if somebody says my life was in danger, but by who? I mean, there were tens of thousands of people. So, like, do you just randomly select one person to shoot? I mean, do you shoot all of them? Like, I just feel like it's not just as simple and cut and dry as just shoot. To me, it wasn't like it wasn't like it was one or two people in my face. I mean, you got dozens and dozens of people in your face. So, like, which one do you shoot if they're all being aggressive? So, I mean, obviously there's a tactical side to it too, but it's even legally, like, think about this. Like, what? I shot them because they were yelling at me and stuff like that. Like, I was fortunate. I did not get physically assaulted. I didn't, well, to an extent, but nothing to the point that would cause me to pull out my gun and shoot somebody. No. But you have to consider all the facts, and, you have to go through the use of force continuum in your mind and be able to articulate why you used the level of force that you used. And at that moment, I wasn't able to do that. So I didn't. So,
yeah.
I'm wondering, how optimistic are you, Officer Dunn, that something like this won't happen again? Like,
not very.
Does the fact that January 6th happened make you say, all right, we're ready next time? Like, we wouldn't have even thought that people would do this, but now we know they might. So now we're more mentally prepared than we would have been. Or is it like, no, this is still should never ever happen?
Yeah. So my thoughts on that is just, I don't know. Like, I view that as January 6th as a domestic terrorist attack.
Yeah, for sure.
Like I said, that's what I view it as. And,
me too.
If you look at terrorism, And over the years, the things that we've learned about terrorists is they don't like to fail. They do not like to fail. So they'll come back, and time means nothing to them. So yeah, maybe like in policing, you always say not if, but when. Like that's what a lot of people say in policing. So yeah, I mean, could it happen again? Sure. Do I want it to? Hell no. But it's a possibility, sure. And I think January 6th showed us that yeah, it's a possibility.
Mm.
So,
Wow. Now, when I was in Iraq, I came back and I had a whole bunch of triggers. I mean, it was as benign as a cardboard box on sitting on the side of the road to driving under underpasses.
mhm.
And I'm curious if you've got any triggers, based on that day, even if it's as little as, as like seeing like a red hat, and if you don't want to answer it just because you don't want to put your stuff out there, like it's
No,
okay
no,
if you're not.
I understand what you're saying. Yeah, I haven't like I like to control my emotions and my feelings based on how I want to do it. I'm not trying to, and I'm in therapy now to help me, be able to process my emotions. Everybody's gets bothered in some case by things people do, but in this particular time, like I said, I learned how to handle and manage my emotions. So sure, like yeah, the one other thing that I've learned how to do is stop letting what people say affect me. Like I'm still learning day by day, but I mean, you can't respond to everybody. I want to, but whatever. I'm good.
Yeah.
Well, you're a household name now. It's like for good and bad, probably. Tucker Carlson. Like I would never want him to mention my name, but you got other people.
No, I understand that, but that's the thing. Like maybe you can reach somebody, and maybe somebody will want to talk to you, not about you. Like, I feel like that was one of the biggest things. That's like these guys want to talk about you, but they don't want to talk to you. But
Yeah, I mean, like
I'm able to articulate my points of view. I'm able to, and then if I don't understand something, I'm willing to listen and learn. And then if I was wrong, guess what? I'll do this crazy thing called saying sorry. Like it's crazy out in this world, man.
Not familiar with it. Not familiar with
it.
How do you do it? How do you apologize?
Say real hard.
Okay.
Real hard.
Mm-hmm.
I do believe as people of faith, I do believe that like God takes these terrible things and brings something beautiful of them. And so I'm hopeful that there will be conversations, that there will be good that comes out of this really, ugly and dark chapter. Yeah. Because that's like job well done,
Yeah, so I like you said, I hope so too. Because like I said, people doing well, it just doesn't benefit me, doesn't benefit you, it benefits all of us. Like I said, democracy benefits everybody. Like, whether your party won or didn't win, things benefit everybody. So we need to preserve that. Like I said, one election that you didn't win, that the person you voted for didn't win, you know what? Maybe it'll be your turn next turn. But we just got to keep on preserving that. We can't put that at risk.
Yeah, if you could gather all of the rioters, all the people that were there on that day into a room, and
I ain't there yet. I ain't got nothing to say. I ain't there yet. Like I said, I'm working towards healing, whatever. But at this moment, nah, bro.
Okay,
nah.
I'll rewind. What if you could record a message that would be played for all of the people that were there that day? Like, what would you say to them?
Why'd y'all hurt us? Why'd y'all hurt us?
Yeah, that's powerful.
Why'd y'all hurt us?
It is.
You hurt us, bro. You hurt us. Why did you do that?
Relatedly, I wonder too. Like you've testified before Congress. You've been now on Will's podcast, so like that's everything. Obviously,
I
was gonna say you've talked to some other people that might be important, almost as important as Will. But what's the message? Like, I mean, it's a riff off of your question, Will. But like, is there something that what hasn't been said that that you want more attention on? What should we be talking about that we're not, given all the people? Or is there a message?
I think that everything is being talked about, but I think what's important is to keep talking about it. Because like I said, the same thing, like, I'm about to go off topic real quick, but the whole thing, the stigma about mental health, like, there's nothing more that people can say about it. You just got to say it more.
Oh, nice.
That's the thing. You just got to keep on stomping that negative stigma out until it's acceptable to say, hey, I'm not all right. So yeah, that's the thing about with me at January 6th. You keep on, this wasn't okay. January 6th was not okay. January 6th was not okay. Hey, no, January 6th was not okay. Because some people still think it is okay. So you got to keep on talking and keep on pushing. And until enough people not agree with you, but are able to see that, you know what, that's right. Like, see it for themselves. I don't want you to just take my word for it. Experience it, because what's this? I just told you something. I want you to be able to prove and factually believe. Don't take my word for it. Like, but if you don't take my word for how bad January 6th was. Don't. But look at the tape, and you tell me that it wasn't that bad then.
So I have to tell you, I'm an empath. And I've watched the HBO thing. This stuff is so painful. I cannot imagine living through it. I cannot imagine. I watch it and go, oh my God, it is it's like unacceptable is not the word. It's just like unreal. It's so terrible. I can't imagine living through it. I really, really can't. And I do just say, boy, we are all broken, and, like, you bear scars that we can't because we weren't there. And
I see, now I'm going to stop you right there, because you do bear the scars. We just got the physical ones.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody, I'm telling you, that was an attack on America that day. If you traumatized, your trauma's real. Your trauma's real. We were just there. We caught the physical brunt of it, but your trauma is real. Like, everybody's trauma that day is real, because we're a couple key moments from living in a totally different America than we are.
Yeah, for real. What do you think about people who are now like, oh, they were peaceful protests? Like,
I got nothing for them. I'm not even giving them any energy, because if I'll never see eye to eye with somebody who can watch that. Like, that's literally just arguing like red or blue, or is that black or blue, or is that green or orange? Like,
is the earth round?
Yeah,
or is it flat?
Like, what if you telling me the earth's flat? Then there's nothing we can really talk about. Like, I got nothing to say to you. Like, okay, like,
that's fair.
It's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
So,
wow.
It would be infuriating. I mean, it is infuriating to me. And I do feel like
it used to be, but you just water off a duck's back. Just
Well, Officer Dunn, I have one last question, and then I will let you go, because you've already been kind enough to give us some of your time.
I appreciate y'all having me on. Thank you.
Great.
Yeah, it's been an honor. So my last question for you is where's the least patrolled place in DC, so I can find a place to park?
Man, shoot, I tell you what, man. It's the parking meter. Like, the people in DC, they the police aren't even safe, man. They get police tickets. I'm telling you, like, the parking enforcement in DC is cutthroat, ruthless, man. I'm telling you. I mean, if you literally, if you even think about parking somewhere, a ticket will like start to appear on your car. Once you stop thinking about it, it'll like disappear. You like start thinking like, don't you do it? Like, That's crazy, man. I tell you.
That's great.
Well, I was just thinking, like, there had to have been at least a couple $1 million worth of parking tickets on January 6th, right? Like, that money needs to go out of the treasury and into like your guys's like fund to help you all out, and we should start petitioning our Congress members to make that happen. So.
I always encourage petitioning your Congress members for, like I said, not necessarily that, but just anything. It's our job. It's our civic duty to be engaged with our elected officials, no matter who they are, no matter what side of the aisle they sit on. It's your civic duty to be engaged with them. Because if you're not, that kind of like gives you the it takes away your power to complain about something.
Yeah.
What did you do to try to make a difference?
That'll preach. Well, thank you so much, Officer Dunn. You've been terrific. We just want to let you know that you're a friend of the pod for sure. We support you. We think your life matters. We think all of the Capitol Police officers' lives matter, and we want to support you anywhere we can. So if we can reach out and put that message out there, we'll do it any way possible. So thank you so much.
I appreciate that.
And I just want to say it was my distinct pleasure and honor to be part of this. This is my very first co-hosted podcast. So like I will never forget you like ever. And that was true before, but now.
I appreciate it. You did fantastic.
You heard it here
first. It was really fun. It was really an honor. Listen, thank you for every single thing that you do.
Thank you.
Thank you for your service. And I know that's not easy. And, you serve and protect even those that don't appreciate it. And so I do want to say that. Thank you for everything that you've given to this country.
Thank you. And just wanted to know, I feel like I could just talk forever. But the last thing when it goes to that, like you said, serve and protect the people that don't necessarily appreciate it. My response to that is the seat is what you're protecting. Like obviously a person is associated with it, but I think we start getting in trouble once we elevate individuals above the seat, whether that be a presidency, whether that be a governor, whether that be a congressman or senator. The seat is what's important because that seat will be there after they're gone, and it was there before they even existed. So
amen.
We got to continue to preserve that seat. And that's why it's our job to vote. And heck, there's an election in Virginia tomorrow.
I was gonna say, nice timing.
I'm not gonna tell anybody who to vote for. I won't do that. I'm not gonna endorse nobody, but vote, get out and vote and do your thing. So you owe it to yourself. You owe it to this country. So.
You heard it here first. Make sure you guys vote. And thank you again, Officer Dunn, for everything.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you, Officer Dunn.
Yeah.